Today we're talking about photographing weddings when it rains, and from a bride's perspective, I know this is one of the worst things that can happen, but also can be really stressful as a photographer because of the lighting restrictions and your location restrictions and also all the logistics that go along with bad weather. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tools and gear that I use, but also some tips and tricks for how you can approach your next rainy wedding day. Before we dive in, I just want to remind you, hit that subscribe button because I make videos just like this every single week that help photographers grow and become more profitable in their businesses. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and we're gonna dive right in. So the first item that I recommend every photographer have for rainy day situations is clear umbrellas. I have a whole bunch of these and I recommend that every photographer have these. I bring these to every wedding just in case. The reason I recommend clear umbrellas is because it allows light to come through. So a lot of times when it's raining, it's also kind of dark. So that light is super precious and you don't want to shadow people's faces with dark umbrellas. So one reason that I like the clear umbrellas is that they do let light in, and it's also great over my own camera. So I just don't want any kind of shadowing going on. And the clear umbrellas are really wonderful for that. They also look really nice in portraits and they kind of disappear in a way that other umbrellas obviously don't, just with colors or patterns or textures, that kind of thing. These are so much less distracting. So it looks really, really nice. When I'm photographing a wedding in the rain, I'm looking for covered areas that I can put my subjects under. So for family formals, if I can find a porch or a pergola or any kind of somewhat covered area, that's where I'm going to put my clients, which means a lot of times I'm left out in the rain. So in order to protect my gear, I'm gonna either have an assistant with an umbrella or I'm gonna use a rain cover. In order to protect my camera, I use rain covers, and this is basically just a fancy bag that is shaped like your camera and like your lens. So you're able to stay waterproof and keep on shooting without feeling like your camera might get too much water in it or having to think about that at all. So I know personally when it's raining, just kind of the last thing I want to think about is my gear, but I'm always worried because we're, running around with really expensive gear. So get a rain cover for your camera. And the other thing to think about when it's raining is the rest of your gear. So think about investing in a bag that is potentially waterproof. So the case that I use on a wedding day is a Pelican case, and all Pelican cases are watertight. So evidently you could submerge them completely in water and they would be completely fine and it would just float and be amazing. So that's one of the reasons I invested in a Pelican case, and I have personally had my case completely soaked at one wedding where the tent broke because it was raining so much and it poured on my case, and I didn't freak out at all because I knew that my case was sealed, it was closed, and it was sitting upright. And it was fine. So everyone was saying, oh my gosh, your gear is getting soaked. And I knew it was okay. So think about your camera, but also think about the rest of your gear and having it either in a completely sheltered area or on your body somehow, or in a watertight case like the Pelican case. So I will link both the rugged bag and the case in the description section. So the two lighting tools that I use when it's raining especially, and I use these when it doesn't rain as well, of course, but when it's raining, a lot of times you have so much less light. And we talked about that with the clear umbrella situation, but when you're inside and you're shooting details, you may have to use a video light or pop a flash. And this is the video light that I use. It's adjustable. You can adjust the colors and the temperature and the intensity, and it's a Gineri, I don't know how to say it, but I will link it below. And it's super handy. Everything about it is rechargeable and reusable. I've had it for years, but it is super handy for shooting those details or even some portraits when you're inside. I can just sit this on a stand on the top of my camera or on a windowsill, and it will just add that light that kind of acts like natural light. So my work is very natural light based. So even when I'm using flash or video light, I want it to emulate natural light. And so that's what I'm able to do with my flashes and my video light. The other thing to mention about the video light is it can really help my camera get focused. So a lot of times I know that my camera bodies can handle extremely low light situations and I don't need to pop a flash. But it can be really hard for my camera and my lens to find that focus point. So sometimes I'll just pop a little bit of this light on my subject, like the cake or my couple, and it helps that camera to grab focus, and that way I can go ahead and take the photograph. So that's another little trick when it's extremely low light. Another thing that I do is I have an educational blog post written for my couples that tells them the things that they can have ready so that if it does rain, I can get the best pictures possible. So things like have a clear umbrella, have shoes that are okay to get wet, and to add candles to the table or up lighting to the room to just really add that glow and that ambiance that might not be there if the weather's not great. So I send that as a blog post to my couples, and that really helps them to know that they need to go out and buy the clear umbrellas, and that they need to be mentally prepared to maybe walk a little bit in the rain to get those portraits. So I think a big part of getting really great portraits on a wedding day when it rains is preparing your couple so that they can wrap their mind around what goes into it and get them ready to be a little bit more adventurous when it comes to combating that weather. Because I know personally that I have taken some of my absolute favorite portraits in the rain, but those were only possible because my couple trusted me and they understood that they needed to get those clear umbrellas. They needed to wear special shoes and just be willing to get a little bit wet for the sake of the portrait. One other thing that you're going to need to have ready and prepared is your portrait list and the way that you direct your client. I actually have a video about how I direct clients on a wedding day. This is especially important when it's raining or when there's a little extra added layer of complexity or chaos, because you're working in smaller areas and the weather is not great. So be sure to watch that video. That will be linked below, and I'll also add a card here that's clickable. So my question of the day for you is, how do you approach a rainy wedding day? Has this ever happened to you? What were your go-tos? What are some tools that really helped you get those images that you needed? Because I think everyone can benefit from those answers. So go ahead and leave that in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.